I didn't understand why no one would hire me. My resume was solid, my interviews usually went well, and more than once a manager told me I was a strong candidate. But every single time I got close to an offer, something strange happened. The company would suddenly stop responding. Emails went unanswered, calls were ignored, and the opportunity simply disappeared like it had never existed. At first I blamed bad luck. Then I blamed myself. My parents certainly did, my mother would sigh, and say I clearly wasn't trying hard enough, while my father would shake his head and mutter that employers could probably sense I was lazy. Their words stung, but I kept applying anyway, staying up late every night, sending resumes, and hoping that eventually someone would give me a chance. Then one afternoon, during what felt like another promising interview, the hiring manager hesitated before ending the meeting. He lowered his voice and said someone had called earlier claiming to be a family member. My stomach tightened instantly. The caller had warned them not to hire me, saying I had a criminal record and couldn't be trusted. For a moment, I couldn't even speak. I had never been in trouble with the law in my life. When I asked who had called, the manager glanced at the number written in his notes, and my heart dropped the moment I recognized it. It was my parents' home phone. In that instant, everything finally made sense, and I realized the people destroying my future weren't strangers at all. They were the two people sitting across from me at dinner every night. And they had absolutely no idea that I had just discovered their secret. After hearing the recording, something inside me changed. For months, I had been confused, blaming myself for every rejection email and every opportunity that disappeared without explanation. But now the truth was sitting in front of me, clear and undeniable. My own mother had called companies and told them I was a criminal. Not once, not twice, probably every single time I came close to getting hired. I replayed the recording several times, each time hoping maybe I had misunderstood. Maybe the voice only sounded like hers. But it was unmistakable. The same calm tone she used when talking to neighbors or relatives. The same voice that used to tell me everything would be okay when I was younger. Except this time, she was calmly destroying my future. I didn't confront them immediately. Instead, I decided to keep collecting information. I reached out to a few companies that had suddenly stopped responding after interviews and asked politely if anyone had contacted them about me. Most never replied, but two of them did. Both confirmed that someone claiming to be a family member had warned them about hiring me. Neither had given me details at the time because they assumed the warning was legitimate. Seeing those messages made my stomach turn, but it also gave me something important. Proof that this pattern was real. At that point, I realized this wasn't just a family argument anymore. What they were doing had real consequences. They had interfered with my ability to work, earn money, and build a life. So I booked a consultation with a lawyer and brought everything I had gathered, emails, notes, and the recording. The lawyer listened quietly while I explained the situation. When the recording played, he raised his eyebrows slightly but didn't interrupt. After it ended, he leaned forward and asked a simple question: "How many jobs do you think you lost because of this?" I thought about it for a moment. At least 6 serious opportunities, maybe more. He nodded slowly and explained that spreading false statements about someone, especially statements that damage their reputation and employment chances, can fall under defamation. It didn't matter that the person doing it was a parent. If the statements were false and caused harm, there could be legal consequences. Hearing that out loud felt strange. A part of me still wanted to believe there was some misunderstanding, some explanation that would make all of this less painful. But the evidence didn't leave much room for doubt. The lawyer suggested we start by documenting everything carefully and sending a formal letter demanding that the calls stop immediately. If they continued, we could escalate the situation legally. I left his office that afternoon feeling calmer than I had in weeks. For the first time since the job rejections started piling up, I understood what was happening and what I could do about it. That night, my parents acted exactly the same as always. My mother talked about a neighbor's new car, and my father complained about work while scrolling through his phone. They looked completely relaxed, completely confident. Watching them sit there, laughing and chatting like nothing was wrong, I realized something almost unbelievable. They truly thought I would never figure it out. They thought they could keep controlling my future from behind the scenes forever. But what they didn't know was that the truth had already started moving in a direction they couldn't control anymore. And soon, they were going to find out just how serious the consequences could be. A week later, the letter from my lawyer was ready. It was calm, precise, and impossible to misunderstand. It explained that false statements had been made about me to multiple employers, that those statements had caused measurable damage to my career opportunities, and that we had evidence, including recorded calls. It demanded that the behavior stop immediately and warned that further interference could lead to legal action. When I placed the envelope on the kitchen table that evening, my parents looked at it with mild curiosity, not concern. My mother opened it first. At the beginning, her expression was neutral. Then her eyes started moving faster across the page. The color slowly drained from her face. My father leaned over to read it too, and the room fell completely silent. For the first time in months, neither of them had anything to say. Finally, my father cleared his throat and asked, "What is this supposed to mean?" His voice sounded less confident than usual. I simply explained that several companies had confirmed receiving calls claiming I had a criminal record, and that one of those calls had been recorded. My mother immediately shook her head, trying to laugh it off, saying there must be some misunderstanding. But when I mentioned the recording and the witnesses, the laugh disappeared. The confident tone they always used with me suddenly turned cautious. My father tried a different approach, saying they had only been trying to protect me from jobs they thought weren't good enough. My mother insisted she had only been warning people because she didn't trust certain companies. Their explanations sounded weak even to them. I didn't raise my voice. I didn't accuse or argue. I just calmly told them that from now on they were not to contact any employer, any company, or anyone connected to my career ever again. If it happened even once more, the next conversation wouldn't happen at the kitchen table. It would happen in a courtroom. The silence that followed felt heavier than any argument could have been. For years, they had believed they controlled the situation, that they could quietly decide what was best for me, while I struggled to understand why nothing worked out. But that control was gone now. Over the next few weeks, something else changed too. Companies that had previously rejected me began reconsidering my applications once the misunderstanding was cleared up. One of them even apologized directly after learning the truth. Slowly, opportunities started appearing again. And for the first time in a long while, I felt like my life was moving forward instead of being held back. My parents tried to act normal after that night, but the atmosphere in the house was different. The quiet confidence they once had around me was gone, replaced by careful distance. And honestly, that was fine with me, because I didn't yell, I didn't seek revenge, and I didn't try to humiliate them. I simply drew a line they couldn't cross anymore. Sometimes people think power comes from shouting the loudest or winning the biggest argument. But I learned something much simpler. Real power is knowing your boundaries and refusing to let anyone, even family, decide your future for you. In the end, my parents didn't lose a fight with me. They lost something much quieter and much more permanent. They didn't lose me. They lost access.